Okay, I think we're on. Today I'm spoiling Flatliners, I guess. I mean, it's horror movie season. It's starting up. It's really picking up. And then in January, it'll probably get bad again. Whatever. These things happen. Although, this is the second movie I've seen this month that just so happens to be a remake of a 27-year-old movie. I mean, with it, they had like a story excuse, but come on, Sony. Whatever. Like, I had no expectations for this. Like, I look it up on Rotten Tomatoes, 0%. I'm like, whoa, it's really that bad? But then there's only like 13 critic reviews or something, so nobody's fucking talking about it. And, I mean, really, why would they be? It's not really anything special. I've seen way better many times, but, you know, it actually kept me decently entertained. I don't know if I would recommend it, but I guess I can just start off with what happens. I made extra sure to check the names this time, so we won't have to worry about me forgetting the names. It's really embarrassing when that happens. I'm terrible at remembering names in movies. But we got Marlo, Ray, Sophie, Jamie, and Courtney. But for the purposes of this description, I'm just going to refer to Courtney as Ellen Page because she's always just Ellen Page. Like, that's not to knock her as an actress. Like, she's pretty good, but she's always just kind of been Ellen Page to me. Oh well. So, the movie kicks off with, like, the thing I hate most when movies kick off. Like, it starts with a car crash. I hate it when movies start with a car crash, or any fucking story that just, like, has a car crash as a plot point. Just not a fan. But basically, Ellen Page is driving somewhere with her sister, and she checks her phone, don't text and drive, kids, and she crashes into a thing, and she flips over onto a bridge, and it's really overdramatic, and then everything goes black, and it's 9 years later, and she's a med student. And she's got her med student friends, and they're doing doctor shit. Listen, there's a lot of medical terminology in this movie, and I have no idea what's bullshit and what's actual medical shit, so I don't know. The way they bring people back to life in this movie, it's probably all fucking nonsense. I don't know if they actually did their research. Maybe they did. Who cares? So, yeah. Ellen Page, she's, like, obsessed with the afterlife. She wants to, like, die and come back so she can see her sister that died in that car crash. And she somehow, like, tricks her friends into helping her out with it. Like, there's a bunch of shit that happens before then, but it's not scary, so you don't really need to know about it. And she tricks her friend Sophie, saying that it's just like an extracurricular project, and she tricks Jamie by saying that she wants to sleep with him, and, you know, fair enough. But, you know, he really should have known better because she's Ellen Page. But, yeah. And they've also got, like, Ray, who he'll come into play later, but basically they do this shit down in some hospital basement thing with equipment, and somehow it all sort of works out, but she dies, and she's going through like a trip out thing with lights and shit, and it's all very magical. And then Sophie and Jamie, they can't bring her back because they're not great doctors, so they text Ray, and Ray's like, he like sees the text that says like basement, and instead of being confused, he's just like, oh shit, I know exactly what's happening, even though nobody told him, and he just fucking books it down there, and he saves Ellen Page. And Marlo, she's there too. I guess she followed him, whatever. She's like, anybody want to tell me what's going on? And then Ellen Page describes what happened to her, but she does a really shitty job of it, honestly. And then they all look at the footage that they were recording she was recording like her brain with whatever, one of those brain machine things, and they look it up and they're just like, oh shit, there was like movement, or like some shit was happening in your brain after you died, and we just proved afterlife, or some shit like that. And Ray's like, I'm not helping you out with this anymore. This is bullshit. I'm out of here. And then Ellen Page, like, she bakes bread because she remembered her grandmother's bread recipe, and she remembers how to play the piano after 12 years, and she's just really fucking smart now. So Jamie's just like, dude, I gotta get in on this so I can be super smart too. And meanwhile, Ellen Page is just like, she gets out of the shower one night, and she, like, I don't understand what the fuck happened. Like, she opens up the shower curtain, but then when she turns around, it closes, which I've had those dreams before, and they're really annoying, but this is, like, a real hallucination. And she starts, like, seeing, like, the curtains falling into the bathtub, and there's a person under it, and she gets really scared, but it was all fake, because it was just a hallucination, I guess. And then they do the thing with Jamie, and his hallucination is just, like, riding a motorcycle down an empty highway, which, I mean, fucking sure, why not? And he's got some lady with him. She becomes a plot point later. And then, like, Ray shows up because he's like, I don't trust any of you fuckers. I'm gonna have to save him again. And he does. And then they party. Like, they look at the brain thing, and then they just party. And then Ellen Page and Jamie, they just, like, tear the shit out of the walls in her apartment. And she's got a big-ass apartment. Like, I guess all these kids are just fucking rich because, like, they can just afford nice places. I mean, Jamie, he's so rich, he lives on a boat. Like, he sleeps on a boat. Okay. And, yeah, so they tear out the walls, and, like, everybody sees how, like, they're experiencing life differently because of that thing they did, and, I mean, sure. And then Sophie wants to do it next, but, like, her overbearing mom stops her, so they do it to Marlo next, and she goes under for 3 minutes. Everybody else has just been 1 minute, but she goes under for 3, and she has a flashback to her, like, winning awards for riding a horse, and, like, she's done a lot of shit, like swimming, playing the cello, whatever, and then suddenly she's, like, floating in a pool, and there's fucking jellyfish around her, and she has a flashback to a patient that, like, died of jellyfish stings, but really she killed him because she gave him the wrong medication and then lied about it. Yeah, so eventually they bring her back, and then Sophie shows up, and she's like, right now, I gotta do this right fucking now. And then she goes in, and she has a flashback of her hacking a girl's phone and sending everybody her nudes, which, I mean, they weren't great nudes because you couldn't actually see anything, but, you know, fair enough, like, whatever. I mean, I guess if she was actually showing any body parts, that would count as child porn, so it's probably a good thing that she wasn't, because then everybody would have gone down for it. Ugh. Anyway, so then she wakes up, and they're all feeling, like, really fucking great about themselves, so they're like, Ray still hasn't done it, but he's, like, still kind of, like, down for partying with them, so they go to, like, a rave on the beach or something, I don't know. There's just, like, a big-ass dance floor and music. I don't know, I don't go to parties. And then, while all that shit's going on, they're, like, dancing and everything. Ellen Page sees her sister walking away, and then she has another hallucination, and she goes up to, like, a rotted out car, and then a hand presses against the window, and it's spooky. And then she wakes up, and whatever. Just describing it now, it's not all that interesting, but it kept me entertained while I was watching it, and I don't know. And then Sophie and Jamie, they have sex, and, like, Sophie stands up to her mom, and she's like, I'm moving out, I'm 25, I'm an adult now, bitch. And yeah. And I can't really remember what happens after that. I think Jamie goes back to his boat, and Because, like, earlier, he had been standing on, like, this walkway between the hospital and whatever building, and he saw that lady from his, like, fantasy sequence, like, standing on the road, and you hear somebody say something about an abortion, and I'm like, oh, that's what happened. But then, when he gets back to his houseboat, I'm like, okay, he's here alone. He's gonna hear a baby start crying because he was afraid of becoming a father. And while that does happen, and I totally called it, the first thing he sees is, like, the woman. She's lying on the bed in the back, like, I guess she's just in pain or something. I don't know. I don't know how pregnancy works, shockingly enough. Anyway, then he hears a baby crying, and he thinks it's coming from under one of the seats, but there's nothing there, because of course. And then... Fuck, I don't know, this movie's really long, okay? Forgive me if I forget some shit. And then, out of order or whatever, Sophie starts seeing some shit with that girl that she ruined her life back in high school. Sure. And, like, I don't know, Ray's just kind of along for the ride because he didn't actually go through with it. And it doesn't really seem like he's ever done anything really all that bad, so I guess. I don't know. But I think... God, such a long-ass movie, but... Ellen Page is like... She calls up Jamie and she's like, bro, I saw my sister at the party or whatever in the car park. I saw her, and then... Jamie's just like, okay, I get what you mean. I'm gonna come over right now and, like, everything's gonna be fine. Because he just saw that creepy shit in his boathouse. And then, while he's making his way over there, Ellen Page, she walks into her apartment and creepy shit starts happening. Like, the radio starts turning on and off. It's kind of spooky. And then... she rounds a corner and she sees her sister drawing at a desk that isn't there through the hole that she made in the wall. Like, it's a big ass hole and you can see the support beams and whatnot, but yeah. And then, like, she finishes drawing and then she throws it onto a stack of candles that she has, and it's a picture of her and her sister. Like, it's just, like, a drawing of, like, me and my sister, whatever, but I don't know why, because she burned it, and from the angle she's at, there's no way Ellen Page could have seen it, so that was just for the audience. And then she looks up and her hair's wet and she's got a creepy looking dead face, and then she chases Ellen Page around, and Ellen Page, like, she had been filming this on her phone. She's like, I'm sorry everybody, I was selfish, I just wanted to see the afterlife so I could see my sister. Yeah. And then Ellen Page, like, she kind of climbs out the window because it leads to this stairs, and then eventually she gets cornered by her sister's ghost, and then she falls off the stairs and she dies. Yeah. And then, like, Jamie gets there and he can't get her to open the door because she's dead and also outside, and yeah. So she dies. And I'm just like, I really didn't expect this, but I guess, like, they never explain what the fuck it is that's actually targeting them. It's just something that, like, feeds off of their guilt of, like, terrible things they've done. And they're just like, what is it, something demonic? They never explain it. It's just the thing that is. And the only way to make it go away is to own up to the terrible shit you did. Like, Sophie, she's... I don't know, they're, like, listening to a doctor explain, like, parts of the brain and shit, and then suddenly she starts hallucinating that somebody's texting her and calling her a slut, and then she runs out of the room to an elevator and goes inside it for some reason, and then, I don't know, the elevator's just, like, in an infinity area, because she can, like, the top of the elevator is missing, and she can see it as it's going up, and she's trying to escape. And then it stops, and then it opens in her science classroom that she was in the hallucination earlier, and, like, the elevator is just, like, in an infinity area, because she can, like, the top of the elevator is missing, and she can see it as it's going up, and she's trying to escape. And then it stops, and then it opens in her science classroom that she was in the hallucination earlier, and, like, the elevator is just, like, in an infinity area, because she can, like, the top of the elevator is missing, and she can see it as it's going up, and she's trying to escape. And then it stops, and then it opens in her science classroom that she was in the hallucination earlier, and, she doesn't step into the classroom, which I do give points for, because, if it was a video game, that'd be your only choice, but since it's a movie, she didn't do that. She acted accordingly. Anyway, so she lets the elevator door close, and then, like, just before it closes, she sees, like, a creepy version of the girl whose life she ruined, and then the door closes, and then she gets out somehow. I don't remember. Sure, whatever. Anyway, then, meanwhile, everybody, like, they find out that Ellen Page is dead from Kiefer Sutherland, who was in the original movie, and he's playing the same character from that movie, which technically makes this a sequel, but he never mentions a thing about having done this same shit before. Like, I thought, like, oh, okay, that's a connection to the last movie. Maybe they'll talk to him and he'll be like, yeah, I remember I went through this shit with my friends and whatever. I don't know, I didn't see the original, but I assume that's where they were going with this, but no, he just tells them that she's dead, and then he's like, did you guys do anything? Like, you should tell me if something happened with her, and they're like, no, and then he's okay with it, and then he leaves, and then you never see him again. What was even the point? Like, it's a sequel, but a remake, but it doesn't even own it. Like, what the hell, man? Just, I don't know. I never watched 24, so I don't care. But then, like, they're all like, well, if anybody finds out about what we did, we're fucked. So we gotta go to her apartment, steal her notes, steal her laptop, and destroy that shit. And they're just like, Ray, you don't need to be involved with this because you never flatlined. And he's like, no, I'm in it with all you guys for some reason. And then they're like, we can't find her phone. It was probably with her body. And they're like, Marlo, you're at the hospital. Just go down to the morgue and steal her phone. So she does that, and then she gets a call from Ellen Page's phone, and I couldn't actually hear what the phone was saying to her. I don't know. It was probably just calling her a murderer again, which appears in blood on, like, the wall. And then, I don't know, she's in the dark, and there's more dead bodies, and then the guy she killed, like, he died from jellyfish stings, so, I mean, his face looks all jacked up every time he attacks her, but, that's just it. And then, like, eventually she snaps out of it and runs out of the room. Okay. And I think that was it for the hauntings, probably. That was probably pretty much it. No, wait, I was wrong. Because Jamie gets attacked in his boathouse again. He's, like, taking a shower, and then he sees some, like, he's showering in an improbable shower, because his shower has, like, a fogged window in front of it, so you can totally see who's showering. It's just a little bit fogged up. What the fuck kind of shower is that? It's just for scare purposes. He sees someone moving in the main area of the boat, and he goes out there, and then some more scary shit happens, and the girl shows up again. He hears a baby crying through, like, the radio. But he manages to get out, and he falls off the boat, and then he swims away to the dock, and then he reaches up on the dock, and then he gets stabbed in the hand? Like, I'm gonna be honest, I thought these hallucinations were, like, completely all in their heads, but also, like, he just gets stabbed in the hand and he screams about it, and then it immediately cuts away. It doesn't even explain, like, what happened to him. Like, he gets stabbed in the hand, and then it's bandaged in the next scene, and he's like, I got stabbed in the hand by the ghost of that lady, and I'm like, how? Where did the knife come from? Explain yourself. But whatever. And Ray's like, there's gotta be a reasonable explanation for this shit. There's no way, like, you guys were probably just on drugs or something, like, I don't know. But then they all get together at this bar, and they watch the video that Ellen Page took, and they're just like, shit, she was talking to someone. Let's just confess our sins right now. And then they all do it. And, well, except Marlo, because it would ruin her career. But, yeah, so then Sophie and Jamie, they go and try to, like, make up with the people they wronged. Like, Sophie gets the girl she wronged to forgive her, so she stops getting haunted. And then Jamie goes to find the woman that, like, he ditched out on her when she was getting an abortion, when, like, he was supposed to be there to support her because he got her pregnant. And then, yeah, and then he goes up to her and he's like, I wanted to apologize. And then she has a boy with her, so yeah, he's a father now, which I guess is a fitting punishment for running out on somebody who's getting an abortion. It's a traumatizing time, dude. Not that I would know, but just don't be a dick. And yeah, so I don't know, they get their sins forgiven, but Marlo's still being haunted. And Jamie, he calls her and he's like, he literally says, like, we just need to own up to what we did. I mean, what have we got to lose? And we're all laughing because, like, Marlo stands to lose her entire fucking career. And yeah. So I don't know how Marlo got it in her head, but she texts Ray and she's like, yo, I gotta make this right. And then she stops answering her phone. So they find out she went to the basement again to kill herself somehow. Like apparently she thought, like, going to the basement and, like, flatlining will help me get forgiveness. I actually don't know. Like, anyway, she's been out for, like, a few minutes, but she's in, like, the weird afterlife dreamscape thing, and she's in a pool with the dead body, and she's like, can you please forgive me? But then he just reaches a hand up and starts choking her, and then all of a sudden she's strapped to one of those rolling beds from the hospital, and then, like, the dude is pushing her, like the dead dude, and then he pushes her through, like, some doors, and then she's in a room with a mirror that explodes, I guess, and then, like, everybody's freaking out trying to bring her back to life. And, like, Ray, he's literally probably the only competent doctor out of all of them, because he's the one who manages to bring her back to life. And Marlo sees, like, this vision of Ellen Page, and she's like, you gotta go back to life or some shit, I don't know. And yeah, then they save her and she wakes up. And then they're just like, wow, let's never fucking do this ever again. And eventually she owns up to, like, the dean. She's like, yeah, I faked these documents and killed a guy. And she doesn't get expelled, she just gets probation, which I guess is something. But, yeah, there's a little voiceover that's like, you can't just apologize, you have to own up to what you did and try to make it right. Which, you know, I'm glad I wasn't involved with this, because apologizing is all I know how to do. I'm Canadian. But, you know. So then they all meet up at the bar, and they're just like, it feels awkward without Ellen Page here. And then they're just like, well, let's just say some words and take a shot, and the movie's over. I mean, sure. It was just okay. Honestly, I'd say if you really want to watch it, just either watch the original or wait till this comes out on Netflix. I can't really recommend seeing this in a theater, especially when it is still in theaters. Like, just, if you've already seen it, go see it a second time, you know? Yeah. So, yeah. It really wasn't all that great, but it wasn't, it's not 0% on Rotten Tomatoes bad. It doesn't deserve that score, but, you know, it's the way the aggregator works or something. I don't know, who cares? So, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. That was a really long movie. This is a really long video. Bye.